When I saw The Doors for the first time, it was at a sneak preview in Hamburg, and I didn't know what hit me, but I was completely taken and blown away by the movie. If we look at what you did beforehand, it was Salvador, it was Platoon, it was Born on the 4th of July, it was Wall Street, and then in the same year JFK and The Doors came out. Why did you choose to make a movie about this controversial band? There was a personal interest in it.
Yeah, first row. I mean, you guys can handle this. I think it's going to be a little on top of you. Right?
Let's wait and see. You know, we can talk to them afterwards.
Those are nice seats. The movie was born out of a lot of bureaucracy, complications, deals. I was a hot director, and I'd done these movies, and I was moving fast. And I really, I saw, they came to me with a script that they had, not bad, by Randy Johnson. And they said, you want to do this? And they didn't tell me there were so many complications because I had to get approvals from like 7 or 8 parties. You understand what I'm saying?
From the band?
Not only from the band, okay. From the parents of Jim Morrison, from the parents of the woman, Pamela Corson,
okay,
who also committed, well, she died. And also there was, it was just complicated, the whole thing.
But they didn't tell you beforehand? They told you after you said
I read the script. He said, I want to do the script over my way. And I did that. But it was a tremendous opportunity because the Doors were, for me, in the 60s, a special band. Very, very erotic, but also very lyrical, very poetic. Morrison had this Irish sensibility that was sensitive to the times. He was a rebel in the sense that his father was a Vietnam, his father was an admiral in the U.S. Navy who headed the Pacific Fleet. Very important position. But he didn't want anybody to know that. But he also was a rebel in every way. He broke barriers. He believed, as you know, in break on through to the other side was a mantra, and we use it in the film. But he meant something as a rebel, as a real rebel. Not, I'm going to say this, I might offend some of you, not a fake rebel, a real rebel. And there was a lot of fake rebels in the rock and roll scene, I thought. He went all the way, he died for it. You know, Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix and then Jim Morrison. It was like the three of them summed up the trinity of that time. But I can't tell you, the thing about Jim Morrison is, unlike a lot of other people, his lyrics were very clear. And he wrote them as poetry, but they were better rendered in music. And Manzarek and the rest of the group really did a great job of bringing it out. The irony, of course, is one song that their biggest hit of all was written by Robbie Krieger, who wrote "Light My Fire." So that got them on the map. And you'll see the story here. What else? That's what you asked me. That you asked me why I did it. Yeah. That's what I did. Oh, by the way, no, I met the general, I met the admiral, I met, Manzarek was a real problem to get around, but we got him. But the guy who was a key guy was Bill Graham. Bill Graham was a promoter. Some of you may have been in America. You know the Fillmore East and Fillmore West. He's briefly in the movie. You'll see him in the New Haven scene. But Bill was an amazing producer. He got all these madmen in together, and he said, you got to make the movie or not, because they'd been through so many versions of it. They tried to make it, and they would never have made it, because that's the problem with rock and roll movies. They never get made, because these families are insane. And these biographies, I mean, you don't know the messes. The music rights get sold and resold. They die of heroin. The rights are spread between 5 people. I worked on years later, I worked on the Bob Marley thing for 3 years, and I got the rights to Rita Marley's book, and I loved it. It was a great book, but the rights were so confused with so many heirs, you know, so you couldn't make the movie in the end of the day. That's always the problem. Keep that in mind when you see a rock movie. You should appreciate that it got made in the first place. Number 2 is the financing was from Carolco, which was a big new company, independent. Very important. They were sort of rebellious. They were doing things like more sex, more rock and roll, in the face of the studios. The studios were still conservative, and they were shocked by this movie I think it was really lucky that we got it done. That same year, I was writing JFK, so we went right into JFK. And I was coming off the Oscar, born on 4th of July, I got an Oscar, and I went from the desert, where I'm shooting the desert scene on peyote, into the Oscar, get the Oscar, come back the next morning on the helicopter. Hi guys, and everything is fine, and we're shooting this peyote scene. So keep that in mind too. There's a lot of fun in the movie, but you can see the drugs, and they take their toll, as you can see on Jim. Stick with it, because it's a dark story too. Jim was a dark guy. He really was a dark guy, and the more you understand his poetry, you can see that there's almost like a Arthur Rimbaud quality to him. There's a romantic fatalism. But he really, my observation is that he really loved Pamela Corson, this girl who I think is very much an all-American kind of girl, kind of superficial it seems to me. But he really, really made a thing about her. And my girl, he keeps saying that. Pay attention to that. I think Meg Ryan didn't get enough credit for what she does in this movie. She really does a nice job with an all-America picture. Aside from that, anything else?
Yeah. One last question, because you've been talking about how difficult it was to get made due to the rights and everything. Val Kilmer, I mean, he is. It's amazing what he does. Was he your first choice? Was he someone that you thought of the whole time, and what did he bring to today? I heard that he recorded some of the Doors songs, of Jim Morrison's songs.